Boom, all right, we go to our second panel of the day. We're only at our second panel of the day. This one involves gaming. We've basically gone through everything in Web3. This panel is called How to Create a Stable Web3 Gaming Economy. To introduce our panel and moderate the panel, please put your hands together for Melanie Joao.
Okay, hey guys. Hey, nice to have you here. So today we've got a panel on how to create a stable Web3 gaming economy with some great panelists. So maybe you guys can introduce yourselves and tell us a bit more about what you're doing. Miguel, go for it.
Sure. My name is Miguel Moorcraft. I'm Chief of Staff at Star Atlas. We're a space exploration MMO built on Solana and Unreal Engine 5, and it's great to be here today.
I'm Joao. I'm part of Polkastarter since the beginning and also managing partner of Polkastarter, a Web3 accelerator based in Lisbon.
Hello everybody, I'm Pedro. I'm the VP of Web3 of RealFevr. We are a blockchain and Web3 gaming company doing sports NFTs, IP-backed sports NFTs. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. So with previous models and the play-to-earn games such as Axie Infinity, we've seen an explosion of players entering into the Web3 space and receiving great returns. But now we're starting to see a shift in economic models of these games to create a more sustainable and stable gaming economy. So maybe we can start by looking at some of the challenges. What are some of the challenges that you guys have seen in creating a stable Web3 gaming economy? And maybe, Miguel, we can start with you.
Sure. I think the first major challenge is just the macro environment. You can't control that no matter what you do in the game. The macro environment has a massive impact in the economics within your game. It really affects how many people are playing, how many transactions are happening, the value of those transactions. So the macro environment, which is an even bigger problem because you can't really impact it. Internally, these models are very recent, very new. You need to really understand them, and there's so much that could go wrong with real assets, which could turn away a player forever. If they have a bad experience, if they go through a down cycle in the economy, there is that risk that they will not come back, as we've seen in the past. So making sure that you're working iteratively, going bit by bit, not trying to change too much at the same time, and also being as sure as you can of your assumptions, which is also very hard. I would say those are the biggest challenges for sure.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of challenge for sure. Probably one of the biggest is like mixing the crypto stuff with the game stuff. So a lot of people see games and tokens as more speculative and not actually an utility inside a game. So it's very hard, even if you have the best tokenomics utility, you always have speculators in the middle. So it's very hard to separate between the speculators and actually players inside a game. And we saw what happened with, for example, Axie Infinity, and for me, one of the worst things that happened is most gaming projects in the last cycle was just lazy and follow the dual token system, which is arguable works or not. But I think there is a lot of room to experimentation, especially on tokenomics design, and sometimes you just need to follow a model that works, like for example skins. Use like NFTs for skins. Don't put a token, maybe, I don't know. So.
Both you guys made great points. I think I tend to agree with you, Joao, when you say that it's very hard to separate the speculative side of Web3 and blockchain with the gaming aspect, right? So obviously, I think gaming companies want to focus on the gameplay, right? In the experience of gameplay, making a game super interesting to play, like Star Atlas, for example. But, degens want to degen, right? They want to speculate, want number to go up. So, I mean, it's going to be hard for the next couple of years, I guess, because that is a group of people that is intrinsic to the Web3 market, at least in the moment, right? Obviously, as games evolve, I think gamers will be attracted more and more, and those guys stay. They don't care about price, they don't care about NFTs, they care about the game itself, right? The experience of playing a game. Maybe if they own the assets, maybe then they'll get a secondary interest. Maybe they'll look at price. Maybe that will be the catalyst for the next big wave of adoption. But I'm just speculating. I have absolutely no idea, right? But yeah, I think I agree with you both guys, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, Joao, you mentioned NFTs and tokenomics. We'll come to that in a second. But the next question, I guess, moving on to the new phase of Web3 games, what are some of the solutions that you guys see that are being offered by Web3 games and moving forward? And what do you see as a successful game or model for creating good Web3 gaming economics?
Yeah, so I think, again, I think people overcomplicate things in crypto. Everyone has, different tokens, everything. And you can use, for example, Fortnite and CSGO. People spend billions of dollars in skins, in cosmetics. So if you do that in NFTs, you can do much, much more than that. So I think, for me, probably you don't need a token in most cases in a game. It depends what you do with it, but just use NFTs as one of the main drivers of cosmetics and things like that. Just make it simple. That's my personal opinion. Nobody knows in the end, right? So.
Yeah, I think diversified revenue streams is definitely one of those, and there's skin, there's different NFT classes. We've got ships, we will have crew members, we've got structures, skins will be one as well. But also other revenue streams. I mean, just because we're in Web3 doesn't mean we can't have the same revenue streams of Web2, like IP licensing, brands, stuff like that. So that helps bring stability to the environment. And then just having a healthy community that maintains that level of economic activity. I think that what happens, or a lot of the imbalances that we've seen, have a lot to do with drastic changes in either earning potential or the number of users. So maintaining a stable community that's attracted by good gameplay is a key success factor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to disagree now because, not with you, Miguel, I agree with you, but I'm not sure if I agree with you, Joao, because if I present to you guys two games, exactly the same game, you hunt monsters, right? You hunt monsters, and for each monster you kill, you get the coin, right? You just get the coin, so play to earn, right? Which one? They're the same. One doesn't have a coin, the other has a coin, right? Yeah. Probably the one with the coin, it's the one that will pick up your interest because it's speculative, right? Yeah. Because you might sell it for a higher price, right? So, I mean, and I don't think that's a bad thing right now. I think it's an entry, right? Does it mean that the people that enter that door are always the same? No, right? I think during bear markets, definitely not speculators, or at least mostly not speculators. It's like people who actually want to play, but in 1 year or two, different story, right? We know it for sure. But then this is the important thing, I guess. If your project does not have a token or anything, how can people gamble on it, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what people want to do as well, right? They want to play, but they also want the gambling part. Not gambling, but you catch my drift, I guess. So I hope that companies build for the games, like when I say for the games, I mean great games with great narrative, story, like an interesting game, right? But they don't forget that there's an economic side to the game, right? Because if it's truly Web3, people can remove the value from your game, the NFTs, etc. They can maybe bridge it to another game, to another chain, etc. So the stuff is not only linked to the game. Maybe it's going to be used by another game. I don't know. So I don't know. There's a speculation part of it that I hope that we do not remove because it also makes it interesting.
So just to dig a bit deeper into the role of NFTs, how can they be used and how can you balance incentives and rewards with different actions and user behavior? Pedro, let's start with you.
Sure. That's a very good question. Even for us at RealFevr, how do you do it, right? How do you balance it? It's quite hard because you want to have an incentive system for the people who are good users, right? Who participate in our ecosystem, who buy stuff, who use the NFTs for the games, etc. But you don't want to turn only into you pay to earn, right? You pay to win, basically. So you need to have the balance, right? It's very, I think it's quite hard. How do other projects do it in different, like, you know, environments, in different sectors, like DeFi, for example? It's always about a question about balancing, right? Maybe you need to give like extra incentives in the beginning. Maybe you need to tend as a very specific community, but you know, as it grows, you know, you shift the incentives. Like for example, in RealFevr, maybe you shifted a bit from staking to referrals now. You see, it's just to attract more users. So there's a plethora of incentives that you can use, right? So it really depends on what you want to do and at which moment in time you are, right? What you're deploying. So it really depends on that because, you know, so many stuff that you can do, right?
Yeah, what do you guys think?
So I'm very bullish on dynamic NFTs. I do believe that you can own an NFT, an asset, a character, whatever in a game, and you can evolve it. And there is a lot of proofs in a lot of big names. People spend a lot of time because they want to grow their character, but they don't own anything, right? So I do believe with NFTs and Web3 and so on, like you actually can own it, you can trade it, you can basically do everything, you own it, right? So incentives are very tricky in crypto. You always need to find a balance. Like for me, a token usually is a bless and a curse. You always need to find a balance between the two sides. So you can grow a lot, you can get a lot of users if you incentivize enough, but at the same time, it's not sustainable, usually, most of the time. So you always need to find the balance between two. I do think like people like to get surprised. Like you play a game and you get a random skin, for example. That can be an NFT, in this case, in Web3 gaming. So I do think NFTs are a big part of, and will be one of the main drivers in terms of adoption. Combined with gaming, it's amazing. Another thing is gamification. I do think like incentivize people to do more, to actually provide value to games, evolve their character, their profile, whatever. People like that. There is a ton of platforms right now that has a lot of traction. Of course, you always have the spam. That's why you need the balance. But people like to evolve their character, their skin, their profile. So I do believe NFTs and Web3 gaming is going to drive a lot of that growth.
I agree. Sorry. I agree with both of those points. I think on the token side, you know, as the economy becomes more complex in the game, and in Star Atlas, we are really trying to build out a very complex economy. Understanding the game and understanding the economics in the game is in itself a game. And so you get rewarded because you understand those economics better. It's a bit like traditional strategy games. You know, you get rewarded for understanding the strategies and the path to win. And so on the token side, if you understand that, the production of resources, the advantages of having ships versus mining, and what you want to do, that can really help you. That is an incentive to do well in the game. On the NFT side, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you know, imagine owning a ship that was present in the battle of XYZ in the game, right? People pay for the football jersey of a final of a World Cup or any other memorabilia like that. With NFTs, you can do the same thing. You can prove that that was the gun that was used or the ship that was used or anything else like that. And at the same time, your progression in the game can also be an NFT. Like how far your reputation can also be an NFT. And so suddenly, you don't have to say who you are, it's there for the world to see. It's on the blockchain, you own your identity for once, so the potential is massive.
Cool. And the same for tokens. What kind of tokenomic models can help to provide a stable economy? Big question, sorry.
Do you want to say it?
You go.
I mean, we've got 2 tokens, Joao, sorry. So, I don't know, there's a lot of debate on this, and time will tell. I also agree with keeping it simple. I think what the dual token model does is, you know, within the game, having your own token. First of all, it starts whether you should have a token or not have a token. The advantages that having a token gives to you is that you're a bit more protected, and especially as you grow, you're a bit more protected from these macroeconomic trends that might impact the value of your token, right? If your token loses 50% tomorrow because Bitcoin crashed, that's really bad for your users and it has nothing to do with the game experience. And your users might be doing the same level of activity, same number of users, same everything, and Bitcoin crashes 50%, speculators run. So creating that makes it at least less exposed to speculators. The dual token system means that you can disassociate that from the voting. You can create a governance structure that's quite powerful, and it enables, especially the staking aspect of it, doesn't take away from the liquidity of your in-game economy. So I think it really helps keeping the two things separate: the stability of your governance system and the liquidity in your economy, which are two key factors.
Yeah, so that what I was saying, dual token system is, for me, still needs to be well proven. I do think like the whole point of the secondary token supposedly is to only use inside the game, but you have an open market, a secondary market. So that's what Miguel was saying. Like you can't control the market, speculators, even if you have a market to short. So it's like a mix that you don't want to have. At least I think that way. So maybe you can put an off-chain token inside the game. Maybe that's a solution. You have the main token. So I always think that, and Miguel was talking about that, we need to start talking about actually business models, revenue, IP licensing, and you can use those profits, you can use that revenue to actually support the token somehow. So you have a value accrue system to the token. I do think that's super important. In terms of having two tokens, I even see games now with 3 tokens. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Let's see. I think there is a lot of room for experimentation, for new things. I think the whole space is open to that, and especially in gaming, in terms of economies, like everyone was talking about play to earn, and now everyone is talking about play and earn. So we just focus on the quality of the game, and the economy side of things is like a good extra. So I think focus on the quality of the game, and then the token and the economy will flow eventually.
I mean, I think that's a huge question, right? Because when you look at the token and we look at the token performance, right? First of all, it's not really up entirely to you, right? Because it goes with other crypto, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., right? So if they move up, probably it will move up. If they move down, it will move down, right? So I think it's more about how, like, when you create like the token economy, let's say, and you have a game, you look into different verticals. So like the financials, right, of the game, let's say. How do you keep the people engaged with the token within the game, right? So that they don't sell the token, right? How do you look at the distribution of the token, like to the early adopters, continuum through staking, etc., right? So at the end of the day, I think you need ways to keep people engaged with the ecosystem that you've built, right? So that instead of just like, buying the token and selling the token, they actually use it for something, right? They actually use it within an economy. And like, ultimately, it would be awesome if they did not care about the price in dollars of the token, but we know that won't happen, right? People, at the end of the day, they also, have that component, right? Because again, everything is interchangeable, right? So that at the end of the day, they can swap the token for something else that has like, a real world value, for example, Ethereum or whatever. So it's hard because, as I was saying, like the economy of the game and the stuff that you build, it needs to be really, really engaging to to overcome all that speculation side. And I don't think it's possible, right? So I think you kind of have to endure it. So as long as you have new buyers, right? Like a way to attract new buyers, like having an awesome game, awesome features, stuff that people like to do and spend the tokens and the tokens that they have within the ecosystem. As long as you have that and you have that continuum, I mean, you take sell pressure from the market, so maybe that will be enough, to hold the price, or for the medium to long term while the market is down. And then when the market goes up, new buyers come in, everything is happy days, I guess. So I think that the challenge for most companies is like, how do we hold for like 2 or 3 years while everything is down, and then you know, so that when everything is good for like that one year, more or less, you know, we can capitalize on that. You know, that's a question for most companies. And again, it's how interesting the game is, the features of the game, and you know, so yeah, I mean, yeah, that's mostly it, I guess. Sorry, I lost track at the end.
No, cool. And looking at the different stakeholders, how do you make that work with different parties, the investors, DAO members, and empowering players to be the center of the economy? Are you able to prioritize players to have a say, or how is this decided, and what is the balance between the parties?
Go for it, Joao. Okay. Okay, so basically that, like, there's two ways you can look at it, right? Either you want the people to have a say, like people always kind of have a say, there's always a community, right? So, but you might, either you want that community to have an active role, like the DAOs, for example, where like their participation actually measured, right? And again, we could go a bit deep into DAOs, like what type of DAOs they're doing, but I'm not gonna go into that. It's just like a matter of, if you want the community to be active, or you want them to be, you know, more like, you know, passive, just playing the game, right? I think probably the biggest advantage of crypto is that you can actually, you know, in a way vote with your tokens, right? So you can have systems where people, like, you know, the highest spender might have, like, you know, a real advantage of, like, you know, spending more or having more tokens, right? Because their voice probably will be the one that's heard the most, right? If you have that sort of, like, you know, mechanism for people to vote with tokens, for example, or you have the other side of the spectrum, which is you don't care, right? You're the company, you know what you're doing, people are just the buyers, right? So, and some companies still, like, you know, you more or less use that approach, right? NBA Top Shot comes to mind. I think it's absolutely fine, right? So you might, it depends on your product and your other market, honestly. If it's something very niche, maybe you want to take advantage of the buyers that you have, the people that are in your community, because it's super niche, right? Maybe you want to hear their voice. But if something like more general, maybe not. Maybe you don't need that. So I don't know. You have the two mechanisms that work perfectly. But again, at the end of the day, the advantage of crypto over, like, you know, Web2 is the fact that it's liquid. So in most cases, you can allow people to vote with their tokens, right? If you want that. Go on.
No, I think like governance is a funny subject. Like usually people or projects that don't know what to do with a token, they just call it a governance token usually. But I also think, like, especially in games, you can actually be more connected with the community using the token for governance. Like most of the biggest games, you can submit feedback, whatever, and they will probably ignore you. So if you have a token, if you have skin in the game, if you have a saying, they're probably more open to feedback, to change in the economy or some level, whatever the game it is. So I do think like tokens is much easier to build a community and also to be more engaged. But we also need to think that, yeah, people will need to be incentivized to vote on something, right? Most people in crypto, they are a bit passive in terms of governance. So they always need to have some either interest or something like that. So I do believe like tokens are very powerful, but at the same time, most people call it governance, but what exactly are you like deciding in a game, right?
Yeah,
But they're voting, bro.
Yeah, sometimes.
I really agree with the token one. I mean, we just launched our proposals in the DAO, and you know, and the way we look at it, Automata, the studio that's developing Star Atlas, is just one of many builders. We see ourselves in, you know, in the future in not having control over the DAO and it really being built by everyone. And our building philosophy in the game also follows that, because we build our game logic on chain. Our movement is on chain, our combat is on chain. All of these things are registered on chain, which means that the game state is on chain, which means that other people can build programs that interact with our programs. And so therefore Star Atlas isn't just the front end like a normal game where you play through that front end. Other people can actually create experiences that have impact in the Star Atlas ecosystem and the Star Atlas economy and gameplay without actually using the Star Atlas front end. And what that means is that suddenly the Star Atlas product isn't just what you created, is what everybody else created as well. And this is a very strong ethos that we have about the value of what blockchain can bring to gaming into game development is that suddenly gaming is not just you, it's you and your community by putting that game logic on chain. At the same time in IP, we opened up our IP for our community to be able to build products royalty-free up to $1 million. That means that if you have a product, Web3 or outside Web3, like our merch isn't done by us, it's done by community members. And we've got 10 projects out there who have created products with the Star Atlas brand and another 50 applications that we're reviewing right now, royalty-free for the first $1 million. And what this means is that these people can create experiences and build out the universe without Automata saying, oh yeah, no, it has to be this, and this is our priority. The community decides also, in a way, where to take the game. So it's about governance, and it's about tokens, but it's also about providing the tools and the possibilities for the community to be able to use and interact with your products.
Yeah, and just to touch a little bit more on player focus, where does user-generated content fall into that to help create a sustainable economy?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that's happened in gaming recently is the Unreal editor for Fortnite. I think that's a massive game changer. If you're looking at games that are built in Unreal Engine, suddenly these people can build experiences, and that's crazy. It's not just like you can build a skin, it's not just content in third-party platforms. You can create racetracks, you can create maps, and it goes back. Like maps have been created for a long time. Some of the best computer games were mods of original games, right? So it will be different because it's easily monetizable and that will attract more people. But again, it's just reinforcing what gamers have been doing for a long time, I think.
Yeah, we have a ton of examples that works, like, for example, Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, creator mode. Another big example, like, for example, CSGO that everyone knows today. CSGO was actually a mod, like a mini game from Half-Life, and now it's one of the biggest games. So someone actually created out of fun or whatever, and now it's huge. I think like for gaming studios, for companies, whatever, it's a very, very cheap way to get new content. You don't need to pay for anything. You give the whole set of tools and creativity to your users and everyone. And you were saying like there is a big shift in gaming. For example, Legends of Zelda, I think, is one of the most recent ones that users can just create whatever they want. So I do think, especially in crypto, makes a ton of sense because it's like an open world. You can also interact with other games, possibly. That's supposed to be the metaverse, I think. So yeah, I think it's huge for both users and also for the gaming studios. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think another thing that might help, with that is the integration, right? So when I say integration is when something like World Wide Web, that game where like you can just like incorporate your own NFTs from like other projects like Bayek and like whatever, like other projects, right? Other NFT projects, and you can just import them into the game, right? Your skins, whatever. So I think that's quite powerful because you do have that, what you're saying, where users can contribute, right? But it's fun to look at the other side, which is the builder, the company or the people building the game. They just allow for assets to be imported, right? They allow it for, in terms of design, how that integrates, but it's the people who choose what they bring into the game, right? And I think that's going to be huge. I'm forcing that into RealFevr, actually, like super soon. So we're going to have NFTs from other projects, like I can say very, very soon. It's on staging now. Because I force it, because I think it's the way to actually have adoption, right? It's not only about the stuff that we have, it's what people already have, what they can bring, right, with themselves to the game. Because otherwise we're only creating split silos, right? And I think it's like the powerful thing is when companies realize, oh fuck, I can make money if I just allow them to bring the stuff that they have from other games and other projects into my own stuff, like into my own game and product and whatever. So I hope I see that from more projects, and they decide let's allow them, because it's hard. Like they have the infrastructure to prepare, they have the design to do, right? Because it's not a matter of clapping the fingers and the projects appear on your game, right? You need to build the stuff in your game too, so that they can import it there, right? But I think it's going to be worth the effort. I think it's going to be quite amazing when people can change stuff from place to place, and it actually, and the game companies actually build on that narrative, and they create narrative for those items in their own ecosystem. I think it's going to be wild.
Cool. And so just to summarize, what do you see as the core aspects of creating a stable Web3 game economy? Like if you can just summarize in a couple of sentences, and maybe for your project or overall.
Can you repeat that, sorry?
What do you see as the core aspects of creating, like if you had to name some of the core aspects of creating a stable gaming economy, what would they be?
Okay, the good one. I would say, user friendliness for sure, in terms of game, right? Not the Web3 part, that's totally not user friendly. You need to know how to work with MetaMask, all that stuff. But within the game, I'm talking about everything user friendly, interesting. Otherwise, it's nobody's going to play it, or the people who are going to play it are only going to do it for the money or the speculation. So you need it to be eye candy and interesting, good story. And finally, good tokenomics, bro, because without good tokenomics, yeah, you're not going to make it in Web3, right? People are just going to either dump the token or not have a good reason to buy the token, right? And to use it as a chip, within your ecosystem, right? So you need that. You need good tokenomics, well thought ones. Do you agree, Joao?
It's kind of the same opinion, yeah. So yeah, focus on the play part, the quality of the game first, always. And for me, I treat Web3 gaming, the Web3 layer is like an extra, an incentive. Is not supposed to be the main thing. The main thing is the game. Everyone likes to play games. Web3 just create another layer, another way to interact with the game, with the community, to own assets, and so on. So I would probably just focus on the game. Try simple things again for me. Try with NFTs first. Maybe try to figure out if a token makes sense or not. Get feedback. Test a lot. Experiment a lot. Because in the end, nobody really knows. We are just experimenting. This is so new, Web3 gaming. We kind of started last year or so, or maybe 2 years ago. So everyone is trying to figure out still. So
yeah, I think the first thing is hire a couple of economists interested in game design. If you really want the economy to be a big part of your game and of your ecosystem, it's as Joao was saying, it can't fail. If that fails, you might have the best game, but if you chose to have a token, you chose to have it on blockchain, and the economy fails, a lot of people will leave your game, and then the experience greatly reduces for your whole community. So incrementally increase, iterate, learn, understand your community, and then have your community build with you. I mean, it's wasted potential if you don't. The blockchain opens up worlds and opportunities and in a trustless manner, so take advantage of that, basically.
Cool, thank you. I don't know if we have any time for questions, if anyone in the audience has any questions for these guys. I think you have to talk loud or come and share your question. I don't know.
Hi. Oh, okay. So just a quick one. We know that in the gaming industry, one of the biggest challenge will be making the bridge from the Web 2 players into the Web 3. So for all of you guys, what will be the biggest, how do I say, the biggest challenge, and on the other side, the biggest points in order to bring those players to the gaming, Web3 gaming? Thank you.
I don't mind going first. Quality expectations. I think that's number one. They expect a good game. They're not coming because of your NFT. They're not coming because of your token. They're coming because they want to have fun playing the game. because that's what they're used to. If you're not delivering a good game experience, you've probably lost that player forever. It's not that he'll come back and see how you're doing in 6 months. That's not the model that they're used to. In traditional gaming, you build a game, it comes out perfect or very, very few bugs. They're not used to, traditional gaming industry isn't iterative. It doesn't come in bits. There's like small patches after. You're not adding functionality, that much functionality to the game after release. So that's the first one. The second one for me is, explaining the value of blockchain. I don't believe in just abstracting blockchain. I think you lose a lot by doing that, but explaining it in a way that is simple and with good UX, and good UX within the game.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. I mean, I was going to say that abstraction in terms of Web3, but in the end, you kind of need to explain why you need NFTs or whatever token or whatever the Web3 layer you use. But at the same time, like Miguel was saying, like it can't be very difficult and very hard to understand because most people will just delete the app and go to another game. So think crypto is like a game of attention and liquidity. So all the games, all the apps in the world are fighting for attention. So if you can pick the attention initially and provide a good experience, you probably get the user in the end. And then the Web3 stuff comes later and incentivize the user to keep going, to keep playing, and maybe they get some rewards and stuff like that.
Those are very good points. Look, that question is very good, bro. That question is very, very good. You want us, the people building games, to teach the non-Web3 people how to interact with Web3? We can't do it. I'm being honest, like, we cannot do it. It's two different focus. One is build a great game for Web3. I must assume you know what a MetaMask is, what a token is, what an NFT is. Otherwise, I mean, I won't teach it. I cannot. It's impossible. I cannot teach you in a way that you'll understand it and will enjoy the game. Either you're like, you already know, and you're fine with it, or it's going to be way too much work for you, bro. You don't care, right? Those people, they don't give a shit if the price is up or down. They don't look at the price. We want people who look at price and do like that, right? We have the patience, to endure, connect to MetaMask, sign transaction, approve 10 fucking times, because it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass, and you still have to do it, right? If you want to fully interact with the experience, you need to do it. There's no other way around, because you have the other way around, which is I keep your stuff, okay, and you play a game. But that's not Web3, man. You need to have your own stuff. You need to manage it. But for that, in order for you to know that, you need to know crypto. So you need to be in the market, to actually enjoy games that are for Web3. I think. I don't think that we can overcome that step. In my opinion, right? Maybe there'll be a gaming company that will find an awesome way to onboard people from non-crypto. But I agree with Miguel, man. You need to own the assets. You need to do your own stuff, right? MetaMask fully decentralized. Otherwise, what's the point? What are you even doing here, right? But for that experience, you need to go through it. You need to know how to work with it, right? There's no other way, bro. Patience, time. That's it. That's what you need.
I think
sorry.
we'll have to wrap it up here. Let's wrap it up here, guys. But thank you very much for joining the panel. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Have a good rest of Blockdown. Thank you. Thanks.